Okay. All right. Before I dive into this little cereal I'm about to show you, I just want to say what a busy week. I just said to my husband a couple days ago, I'm like, what am I going to talk about in this week's Celebrity Lie Detector Live? This was 2 days ago. And then yesterday, what happens? Holy smokes. Jussie Smollett, the charges were dropped. You have got to be kidding me. So this is trumped everything else. I was going to be talking about a couple other cases this week, which will be bumped to next week's program. So I'll talk about that later. So we're going to dive in first before we get to Jussie Smollett, which I know you're all dying to hear what I have to say, and I cannot wait. I'm going to blow your mind with some of the information I'm going to give you. It's going to totally change the way you look at people you work with, people you interview, your children, your significant others. Tonight, we're going to talk about a bunch of different areas that we may have touched on briefly in one of the past episodes, but not to the level we're going to do tonight with Jussie Smollett. I mean, this is deception gold. It's unbelievable. I can't even wait. So, but first, this is something I really want to talk about. I keep getting questions from you guys online with regard to eye movement. So whether it's Jussie Smollett, whether it is the McCann's parents, Madeleine McCann's parents, whether it is just any of the celebrities we've been talking about in the media recently, people keep saying, well, Janine, how come you're not talking about the eyes moving in one direction or another? So I want to talk about eye movement and how fascinating eye contact and eye movement is. And one of the biggest myths on eye movement that right now you believe, or probably someone in your family or in your life, they believe this to be true. And I remember I went on a date once and the guy said, hey, your eyes went here. That means blank. So we're going to bust this myth. We're going to explode it. First, let's look at a cool study that was done a couple of years back that I just found incredibly fascinating. And here's what the study has to do with. It has to do with cereal. Cornell University Food and Brand Lab looked at 65 different cereals in 10 different grocery stores in a couple different states. And what they discovered was quite fascinating, although perhaps not shocking or perhaps not something you wouldn't have guessed. Because here's the deal. What they discovered are the kid-based cereals, the sugar-based cereals directly to the children are typically, the majority of them in each of the grocery stores are on those bottom two shelves. And the healthier cereals for the healthy families, or the healthy adults at least, are on the top shelves. Why do you think this is? Well, those two bottom levels, who's down there? Our children. Our children are at these lower levels, and this is where the sugared cereal is. So the solution may be, quite frankly, which I do. I skip the cereal aisle altogether with my kids, or I'll park my grocery cart at the end of the aisle, run down and get some cereal. If I splurge, I might do like Honey Nut Cheerios, which those aren't great either, but that would be a splurge for me. Certainly not some of these other cereals you see bouncing around in here, although everybody loves Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Let me tell you, my kids, everybody, my husband, me, stay away from that. So here's what the study is. The study found out not only are the cereals in the bottom two shelves, typically the sugared cereals, I want you to look at Fred Flintstone right here. These cereals that have these cartoon characters, what they've discovered in the study is that the degree of angle where the cartoons look down, it's a little less than what we would call, about 10%. So it's like 9.6%. 9.6%. So I want to go back to this really quick. So let's look here at Fred Flintstone. Yabba dabba doo. And we'll get some owl over here for some cereal called Apple O's. The eye contact on the cartoons, whether it's Count Chocula or Fred Flintstone or, the bunny on Trix, is they're looking down ideally it looks like they're looking at their cereal, and they're also at the same time looking at the kids. And the kids are grabbing at the eyes. This is grabbing the eyes of the children. Now, this study that was done at Cornell tested, okay, not the kids, but they tested us adults. What if they changed the direction of the eyes? Would that change what grabs our attention or not? And the answer was pretty surprising. So here's the deal. Trix cereal. Look at this picture of Trix. Which one would you say, yes, that I feel connected and somehow it's pulling towards loyalty and trust towards the brand? Would it be the left or the right? So on the left of my screen here, I'm going to move my mouse around in here. This is the regular Trix box, and this is the altered tricks box that Cornell Food and Brand Lab altered. And what you can notice, my husband goes, there's no difference. They're both the same. I go, actually, they're different. And it's very subtle though. It's just the eyes. In this one, the bunny is looking down towards the cereal or towards your children because your children are down at that level. Here, this is the altered box of tricks. The bunny is looking directly at us. And over 15%, about 16% of adults increase our opinion when asked, I trust this brand. I feel connected to this brand, and this box is attention getting. Those three questions, adults 16% more choose the one on the right. Again, not surprising why they're looking at us. The value of eye contact and connecting with people. You may know this, or you may not know this. We tend to give more eye contact when listening to others and less eye contact when we're speaking. So when we're speaking, we're moving our heads, we're gathering information, and we're talking. We give an increase in eye contact when listening to others. This is where I want to talk about. Now that we know, so eyes are incredibly fascinating, and marketing gurus know this, of course, with the cereals for sure. I want to talk a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro is the brain, linguistic is language, and programming is how we put it all together. I'm certified as an NLP life coach, neuro-linguistic life coach. Neuro-linguistic programming life coach. I do not do it. The reason I went to school for NLP was I want to have what I'm teaching in my keynotes or what I'm sharing in a workshop, I want it to stick. And what's happening is I'll teach a workshop or a keynote, or I used to, and people went back to the same exact versions of themselves. I'd see them like at lunch or later in the day. And it irritated me. So I took a life coaching class to figure out, is there a way I can deliver the material in a way that sticks with people? And the answer is a resounding yes, for sure. I began teaching and speaking a lot differently after understanding how we're able to build rapport visually, auditorily, and kinesthetically. Now, some of you may be like me. Before I took NLP training, it was a year-long program once a month for I think it was 4 days for 13 months. In Boston from the NLP Institute of California, it's called, if anyone's interested. And this was several years ago. And I never heard the word kinesthetic. I just never heard it. So if you've never heard it before and you're like me, like, what's that? It's just touchy-feely, it's kinesthetic. Get a hold of this, they may say. Someone who's kinesthetic, do you grasp what I'm saying? Someone who is visual might say, I see what you're saying. Even though saying is auditory, they may say something like, I see what you're saying, which is what I would say. I'm very visual and kinesthetic. I'm always comfortable in my baseball hat or my sweatshirt. You'll see I'm fidgety. Some people have said they don't like that I'm fidgety. That's all right. Go find another channel. Also, people have told me that they don't like when I loop the videos more than once. Well, this is an educational platform. So in order for you to learn, you actually have to have it about 7 times this average for you to have a behavioral shift. And just like I'm telling you, I went to life coaching school, I'm interested in a behavioral shift for you guys. I want you to protect your friends, your family, your finances. I want you to make smarter decisions with the people you trust in your life. And I want you to make more money. And the way to do that is for me to teach it to you. So I will be repeating information over and over again. If you are just looking for the news, then go find CNN or Fox, whatever's your cup of tea. Or there's other people analyzing video footage, and you can just watch that stuff if you want to hear what different body language experts say. I'm sure they're out there, or they just say it once. This is a learning channel. So if you're here to learn, I'm so excited you're here. If you're here not to learn, you just want a quick hit, well, you might have to fast forward through a couple things. All right. So let's go back to this little chart I have here. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic. In our world, we call them the VAKs. So VAK, well, here it's F for feelings, but typically we say VAK, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. You can see another A here. This is internal dialogue. I'm not going to go deep in this particular video series with Celebrity Lie Detector Live on NLP and specifically what eye movements mean. All these letters mean different things. Essentially, what I want to do is keep it very broad, which is visual people tend to look up. We see the VA, the V here. So visual people tend to look up. So Janine, describe the first bike you ever had as a kid. My eyes may go up. This is like, I say it's like opening a file cabinet and pulling out the pictures, Auditory tends to look to the ears. When I talk about this another time in more detail, I'll bring video clips showing you people who are processing visually, auditory, and kinesthetically. Just hit Google though, Maya Angelou, and the great poet, Oprah's BFF or former BFF. And you'll see every time and she's in an interview and she's gathering thoughts, her eyes will go to her ears. She's unlocking that folder, that auditory folder. And then kinesthetic, or this feeling based, you can see here in this picture of the character House, down right. We always talk about NLP from the perspective of the person we are looking at and analyzing. So right here, this is at my computer, it might be inversed for you guys or reversed or whatever that word is. Right here, this is to me his down right. So how we can remember this, I'll give you a cheeky expression in just a second. Because when he looks down left, it's something completely different. It's not kinesthetic, it's internal dialogue. Now, some lefties can be backwards. So this is typical for a right-handed person. Some lefties can be backwards and some righties can be backwards. This is why we always want to get a baseline. What is someone's normal baseline behavior? Where were you at 6 o'clock? I was. Where were you at 7 o'clock? I was. Where were you at 8 o'clock? I was. And we have a change in their baseline, that would be suspicious to me. I would want to say, let's revisit what was happening at 8 o'clock. Does it mean they're lying? No, maybe something's happening and it's up to us to figure it out. Why did this just go? Why did the person go in a different direction and change their baseline? Or what we know, if you've been following me here, you know that a deviation in their normal behavior. So deviation in the norm. So here's how I'm going to help you remember a couple elements here. Do you know that expression? Us kids in the United States of America, we have an expression, downright. I was downright angry. I was downright upset about this, downright. So how I'm going to have you remember is downright is an emotion. So if you can look at our picture of House right here, that the character House, at least, House right here, you can see downright is feelings, accessing feelings, kinesthetic sensations and touch. So right here, he may say things like, get a hold of this. People who hang out in the kinesthetic world, which I am, they can kind of sink into the furniture. They can be really comfortable. You can see them in meetings and they just literally like morph into the furniture. If they're men, they may have goatees for years and years. They may ride bicycles. If you're at an event and there's beanbags on the ground, you may likely have kinesthetics sitting on the beanbags, or someone like me. I was just in the airport today and yesterday. You'll often see me, I know it's gross, but I'll sit on the floor, plug in my phone, sit on the floor and lean against a wall. That's the kinesthetic. I travel with a blanket. So I always put one side down and then I sit on it and just, it's really comfortable for me to be on the ground and just spread out. So downright. This is, again, typical right-handed person, although sometimes people can be slightly different. This is for sure follows my modalities. This is where my eyes move when I'm gathering this particular information. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because eye movement is amazing. It's great with building rapport. Mirroring is people like themselves. So if you mirror me by not just movements, which I'm not super crazy about. And if you're going to mirror someone's movements, you should have about a 4 to 7 second delay. So if I touch my hair like this, you don't want to do it at the same time. You want to just wait, 4 seconds or so, and then come in and fix your earring or do whatever it is that you do. The biggest myth in body language. The biggest myth in body language. I'm closing my eyes because I'm hearing a million people ask me about this constantly, not just here at Celebrity Lie Detector Live. By the way, I live on Facebook every Wednesday night. I start between the hours of 10 and 10:30 and we run for about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. Then I'll break it up into sections and put them on YouTube in sections. So if you miss me live, you can watch it on YouTube. We'll be keeping them up there temporarily until I launch my virtual training, and then we'll keep a couple up and then we'll move them over to my virtual training. And anyone who wants to go deeper can go there, which I haven't launched yet. I'll keep you guys in mind when I do. So this is what I want to talk about. Be careful of saying, oh, your eyes looked up or right, therefore you're creating an answer. You're lying about something. See right here, we even see it in this chart, lying versus truth. I just pulled this chart from the internet, and this is one of the biggest beliefs that's out there, including when I was at law enforcement, they taught us this, scientifically proven wrong. You cannot use eye movement. You cannot use eye movement. I'm nodding my head yes. Some of you are like, why are you nodding your head yes? Because I want to stress you cannot use eye movement to detect deception. You can certainly use eye movement changes to notice a deviation in someone's baseline. You cannot in and of itself say, okay, Janine looked up or right. And here, I'm going to explain to you why. One little example. If I said to you, describe your mother's face to me, your eyes might look up or right. So when your eyes look upper right, let me make me bigger here. So describe your mother's face to me. And you're like, my mother's face? Well, she has blue eyes. Sometimes they're green, depends on what she wears. If you're trained in NLP or you've seen this chart, you're like, Janine Driver's a liar. Her mother, that's not her mother she's describing. Well, maybe my eyes went upper right because I'm imagining my mother's face, just floating here. I'll use my son's Spider-Man coolie thing. Imagining my mother's face just floating in air. And because I've never seen my mother's face just floating in air before, my eyes go access creating an answer to the upper right. So because we cannot get into someone's head and understand how they are interpreting our question, you cannot in and of itself use eye movement. So let's get out of eyes so we can get to Jussie Smollett, because I know everyone's dying to see Jussie Smollett. But first, let's put you through the test. This is from a TV show called Brain Games. Let's see how you guys do.
Take a look at 3 suspects. Pay close attention to the movement of their eyes. Here's the question. Which one do you think is lying?
I did not take the money. I did not take the money. I did not take the money.
Got your answer? You probably think you know who the most likely liar is, but you're 100% wrong. Don't believe me? Stick around to find another look at the 3 faces. Which one did you think was the most likely to be lying? Got your answer? More than 70% of us believe that liars avoid eye contact. Surprisingly, scientists have found no correlation at all between eye movements and lying, which is why we knew that no matter which suspect you picked, you were wrong. Because based on eye movement alone, there's no way to tell if any of these suspects are lying.
I did not take the money.
Cool, right? Isn't that amazing? So it's so fun. Just a little teaser. Brain Games, a fun show. I don't know if it's still on anymore. I was interviewed once for one of their episodes. All right. My name's Janine Driver. This is Celebrity Lie Detector Live. Moving on to Jussie Smollett. We'll be talking for about an hour, hour and a half. We're going to go over a couple different cases in the media, and I'm going to tease what I'm going to cover next week because they got bumped because of the Jussie Smollett case that came out yesterday where all charges were dropped. 16 felony charges. I want to bang my head against the wall along with the mayor of New York City, Rahm Emanuel, and the head honcho in law enforcement over there. We're going to go deeper in a second. Be sure to stand by if you want to watch the whole entire show. I'd love to have you stick around. Otherwise, if you're leaving us now, I'll see you next week, every Wednesday, between 10 and 10:30, live on Facebook. The week's cases will be shared with you along with some other cases that have been in the media for some time. My name's Janine. Be sure to like me, follow me below. Tell your friends to follow me. I understand some of you have parties out there. You can send me messages on Facebook right now while you're online if you're here live, and I'll answer your questions. In the meantime, my name's Janine Driver. We'll see you at the next segment.